Well, hello again, everybody. I've been doing some different types of content lately. Not all of it has been made public so far. I did do part one of that most disturbing movies I've ever seen in my life. As sort of like a discussion thing, not so much for anything in particular, just to express my personal opinions on things I've seen over the years. That was received well. I am still continuing to work on that. But for this video in particular, I want to just bring up something. Now, no one has ever really brought this up to me in person, per se, through a comment or anything else for that matter. It's just something I want to address just in general regarding stuff. Now, I'm sure many of you have noticed, whoever you're new here or been a fan of the channel for a while, I don't tend to really buy into brand new releases, or at the very least, something when it first comes out. Now, a lot of things I do play tend to be retro or old-ish, I would say. Not so much like it's very old all the time or anything, but I do acknowledge it is very rare I do just start something the second it comes out. Now, again, no one has ever really said, like, why don't you play new things, or maybe you should play new things so much, but I do want to be a bit more transparent as to why I don't buy into new things. Because a lot of the new stuff that comes out lately, I'm just not hyped for, right? I did mention my finances aren't the best, which they aren't, by the way. But when it comes to something brand new, $70 for ninth gen hardware, a big AAA release, buying it first day is not really the issue here as far as like affecting my finances or anything. That's not the issue here. The issue is that I don't want to spend money on something in general if it's going to be crap to begin with. We've seen this so often lately. So often the things that are penned up, hyped to oblivion by these big studios and publishers and whatnot, developers, whatever you want to call them, and then when the game comes out, it's absolute dog dick. And that's why I'm sort of skeptical about things, about buying into them on day one. Because at that point, yeah, you pre-order, you get some bonuses, but at that point, they have your money. So it doesn't matter if you buy the game or not; they have your money. So, from a financial standpoint, they're fine. But the backlash, of course, from reviews and critics and everything else, it doesn't seem to affect them in the long run, as far as I could tell. I mean, I'm not a businessman or anything, but it only pisses off the public, myself included, when they say, "Oh yeah, this could be the greatest thing ever." It comes out and it's like more or less unplayable. And I've seen a lot of instances very recently that fit into that category, for that matter. Excuse me. So yeah, like with any discussion video, this is not going to be scripted. I'm going to take drink breaks off camera while I'm filming, excuse me, because talking repeatedly does dehydrate me. Okay, so for the examples I'm about to give, I have to acknowledge I have not played these games personally, so full disclosure there. But for based on what I've seen by people who have played them and like influencers, not so much doing it as let's plays or whatnot, but just play them on camera, off camera, whatever, they do not have a lot of nice things to say about them either. Now, one person I really like to watch is Some Ordinary Gamers. It's run by a guy named Mudahar. Yeah, so he's doing pretty well, as you can probably tell by his subscriber count. But anyway, going to what he goes through, you think with he does sometimes cover Let's Plays and stuff, but not so much like a regular thing like I do. If you go through his more recent stuff, it tends to be more shit posting than anything else, which is fine. I don't mind a little shit posting here and there. In fact, I do feel it's something I may be able to like capitalize on myself, considering how angry I get during games. Especially as things aren't really worth getting over. But if there are a lot of controversial or even just negative things in the world that I could just talk negatively about, I feel that actually it might work out pretty well for me, given my nature and such. But anyway, regarding him talking about bad games, I saw this a while back when he went over Saints Row. So yes, as far as Saints Row goes, I played the first game a little bit. I never beat it. I just like sort of messed around with it and lost interest in it. And I know, strangely enough, I did play Saints Row 2 in the same manner, like just messed around in the open worlds and stuff. I never beat that game either. I never played 3, I never played 4, I never played Gat Out of Hell, the spin-off, I never played the reboot, right? I did film one video of the first game as part of like a test store series. It's still on the channel as a saved draft. I will get back to that at some point. It was sort of like more of an experiment thing, like revisiting it and see how I would like deal with it now that I'm commentating and stuff. Where obviously when I was playing it originally, I was just messing around for shits and giggles. So I will get back to that at some point. But in regards to the reboot, yeah, a lot of people were not afraid to say it, this is like absolute horseshit. Which is a shame because the series, I mean, has always been sort of like a odd thing out. Yeah, I remember when the first game came out, people decried it as like a GTA ripoff, which I don't really agree with so much. Because back then, GTA 3 was the big thing, also Vice City, San Andreas. At least with GTA 3, you just play as a guy named Claude, who's mute, by the way, and you're just going through a revenge ploy. Excuse me, from what I remember from the first game, you play as a customizable nobody who is just recruited by the Saints gang, and you start working with the gang to commit criminal activity. As far as Claude goes, yeah, you work for different organizations, but it's not like you're officially part of them, you know? That's why I felt distinguished Saints Row differently. But in regards to when the reboot was first announced, the hyped up, again, like I said, there's gonna be some super modern thing, full voice acting customization, freedom to do what you want, blah blah blah. But then again, when I didn't buy into it at first because I wasn't really that interested in the reboot of it. But you could clearly see, like Mudahar himself, did not really hold back on his criticism. He pretty much called it absolute dog shit. Like I've said, many other people too, like Charlie from Penguin Zero. Yeah, he went over the game, thought it was horrible. Some other people, yeah, even Game Ranks, who I watch a lot, who do a lot of top 10 stuff, they decried it as well. Eh. Yeah, let's see. Yes, it's that bad from Luke Stevens. So I tried the Saints Row reboot. Yeah, that does not look very promising. Blah blah blah. Okay, so another thing so that's why I didn't buy into it when it first launched. Even though all the hype went through it, it probably had a gigantic budget. They probably charged full price for it. I don't know if they did, but yeah, the game was pretty much considered horrible. Another thing was Gotham Knights. That was also hyped up as well. I'm pretty sure the people who developed it were the same ones who did the Arkham Origins. They did not do Arkham Asylum, City, or Night. That was Rocksteady, but there was some hype for this, considering, yeah, open world sort of thing, do what you want based on the story or not. But yeah, he did not hold back on this either, saying it was shit, which is also unfortunate. Granted, I have never played the Arkham games. Yeah, I know. I probably should at some point. I'm not huge into the superhero genre in general. As far as movies go, yeah, there have been some good things. Like Joaquin Phoenix winning the Best Oscar actor for Oscars for Joker. Also, coincidentally, Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight winning the supporting actor for this, playing the same character essentially. The second time it's happened in Oscar history of two different people winning an Oscar for playing the same character. Interesting, right? The first one obviously is Marlon Brando and Robert De Niro, two separate movies, same character. What was it? Vito Corleone. Yeah, but different time frames, but it's still the same character, so it qualifies for that accomplishment, right? But anyway, I'm getting off topic here. Yeah, I'm not gonna play any of this video because I don't want to take any attention away from Mudahar, but yeah, he just rips into it. You just go around doing the same old boring activities, the leveling is lame, the combat is lame, and it's the whole thing was just a shit show. Which again goes back into like, Saints Row. Everyone hated on that, despite the fact it was widely anticipated and being hyped up. And then one was Redfall. Also, again, I have not played Redfall, so I can't say for sure if it was good or bad or not. But yeah, he calls it out. Again, you can see the video right here if you want to check it out. Also, Charlie called it out as well. Awful, awful, awful. Which is a shame because I know it's developed by Arcane Studios. I don't know much of their work, but I played their Prey reboot a while back on the channel. It was semi-blind, yes. I did enjoy it for all the different variety it had in its gameplay, sort of like an open, not open world, but open environment. You explore the space station, you choose to do things at your own leisure and such. Also, multiple different ways to end the game. Overall, it wasn't like a huge success in my mind because there were some things that did seem kind of like not very high quality or like appealing to me. Like the fact that it's never gonna be picked up on the way it ended because I don't think that game sold well either. And some other things too, for that matter. Yes, I get that. But I did like the game. I did play it. I also played part of the DLC, Moon Crash, whatever it was. Oh, that wasn't really story based in my opinion. It was more like a roguelike thing, but whatever. I did try that at least. So I was a fan of their work. I was kind of wondering what they would do with this open world sort of FPS vampire sort of thing. But no, everyone hated it, from what I understand. A lot of the criticism lies in that it performs like shit, even though it's a next gen title, right? And also, the open world is open, but there's like nothing to do in there. There's just like barren environments, the horrible graphic problems, with compatibility and frame rates. So that's another reason I don't really buy into the hype of new games. If there is something I am definitely interested in, regardless if I know it's going to be well or not, or its reputation, the company, or anything else, yeah, I will buy into it, obviously, to at least give it a fair shot. One example of this is The Last of Us Part 2. When I first started that first video, I was actually starting to record as I was waiting for the countdown. 'Cause I pre-ordered it digitally, so you can't actually play the game until it launches at exactly midnight of the day it launches. So yeah, I pre-ordered it. I already loaded up the game, like pre-installed it. So you could see in my first video of that, the timer was actually counting down to when I could actually start the game up, legit for the first time alongside everyone else in the world. That was something I was very interested in because I really liked the first game. I played the second one, thought that was also good, and I got to play very early. It's like I didn't wait on it just to see what the reviews were. It's something I was very interested in. I bought into it day one, and I really had a good time. But since then, I mean, so like again, a lot of things that even are based on franchises I'm familiar with. Like, because again, I played Saints Row 1 and 2, so I knew what the Saints Row series was about roughly. But I wasn't hyped up for that reboot that they announced, and for good reason, because it ended up being terrible, from what I understand. Also, to a lesser extent regarding these three things, Saints Row, Redfall, and Gotham Knights. To a lesser extent, there was the Gollum game, which was also horribly received as well, as you could see. I beat Gollum so no one else ever has to. Well, thank you very much, OB Shoe Games. Okay? Gollum Launch was so disastrous the devs shoot. Yeah, that is not surprising based on what I've seen. Again, Charlie went over it again. Gollum game is awful. Lord of the Rings Gollum is the worst game of 2023. Gollum is a shameless, greedy, insulting disgrace, and Aaron tears it to shred, rightfully so, based on what I've said. So this is what I'm talking about, guys. Now, to a lesser extent, I don't think a lot of people were hyped up for this Gollum game, because a game where you play as Gollum, I mean, who was really asking for that? I've seen weird ideas that do work, but I don't think this was pretty much doomed from the start, in my opinion. I don't know who was clamoring for this type of thing, but it certainly wasn't me. Especially because I was never really into Lord of the Rings. My history with that franchise is sort of weird, because my father dragged me to see it when he still lived on the East Coast. I live in New York, by the way. He's currently living in the state of Washington right now. But when the first movie came out, he did drag me to see it. More or less because at that point, my parents were divorced. We got visit sometime with him, so a lot of the things we did together, me and my sister, would go to the movies, because it's a very simple thing to do we had like rights, not with visit rights, whatever you want to call it, but he would come over, he'd take us out, he'd go see a movie, and that's pretty much the gist of it. I did see plenty of good things with him. No, I saw the original Starship Troopers. Back in what '97, he showed me that when we were in at that period. But one thing he did show me to see was Lord of the Rings: Fellowship of the Ring. Now, I don't remember anything about that. I sat through the whole movie. The only thing I can recall from that movie is, well, a character dying so much. Now, I'm pretty sure most people are aware of this, but he's in a forest somewhere, and he's just standing to the right side of the screen. He gets hit with an arrow. Then, like, at least two more arrows hit him in the chest, and that's it. He just dies. That's the only thing I remember from that entire movie, of me sitting for that. I haven't seen it since, but it's the only thing that is a callback to me when I think of that first movie and seeing it in theaters for the first time. It's crazy, right? It's just so weird, though, because I was pretty sophisticated back then as a youth, I would say. I remember things from I've seen around that period as well, full like adult movies too, like Identity. I saw in theaters by myself. Remember that entirely. Mystic River. I saw in theaters by myself. Remember that entirely. John Q, a very underrated Frank Oz directed movie with Denzel Washington. I saw that in theaters. I remember that full to this day. But for some reason, Lord of the Rings just didn't click with me. But again, I'm going off topic here. I'm sorry. Yeah, this was a full price release from what I understand. This Gollum thing, it was $70. It was sort of hyped. I don't think a lot of people were expecting it to be good or even wanted it to be a thing. But yeah, people tore it to shreds upon its release. And from what this other person said below, the studio is defunct now. Yeah, they shut down. They're not a thing anymore. They're not developing any more games because it's such a disastrous launch. It probably cost them tons of money. So that's why I don't really buy into these things. Is what I'm trying to say here. Now, as far as stuff coming out recently, Plus, yeah, as you can see by the date in the lower right corner, it's July 3rd. Happy almost July 4th, by the way. Today we celebrate our Independence Day, President Whitmore, blah, blah, blah. Going through IGN right now, these are all the releases I think that have been announced officially for July 2023, right? I'm not sure what order. I guess these are in order of the day they come out, right? So yeah, we start with July 1st, go to July 2nd, July 4th. Yeah, yeah. So it is in chronological order. Yeah, I know they do tend to list a lot of things that aren't like big budget or a lot of attention, as far as I could tell. But yeah, nothing really here is really calling out to me so much. It's like, yeah, this is a must buy or something. I have to get this. This looks awesome. Especially not a mobile game. Good God. Is that like an infinite runner, Sonic Prime Dash, if I had to guess? I don't know. Yeah, some of these things are even like mobile stuff. Ridiculous Fishing X, and I'm looking forward to that. So I just want to address that's why I don't really buy into new stuff. If there is something I am legit interested in, of course I will go out of my way to get it so it's ready to be played. But as far as other things go, I'm just afraid of them hyping it up and it ends up being trash, or a lot of the things that are new just don't really interest me. I mean, you consider that new stuff comes out all the time nowadays. It's not just like a retail physical release where you have to have your parents drive you to Toys R Us, get that cartridge and stuff. Those days are gone, guys. That's something I had to deal with as a youth, and no future generation ever will for that matter. So it's kind of weird, right? Yeah, but going through this list, nothing here is really calling out to me as something I really want to cover. And yes, none of this stuff has been released yet. That's all for the month of July, so not much to say there. Let's look at August. Most of these things I never even heard of in any fashion whatsoever, for that matter. I mean, Stray looked a little familiar, like interesting to me, but I just haven't gotten around to playing that. I know it's pretty short from what I've read, so that is something I'm interested in. But it's also been released on PS5 already. I think it's actually going off PS Plus Premium pretty soon, so might have missed out on my chance to do that. Yeah, like Madden, I'm not into Madden. I was never into sports games. Yeah, online thing about where you play Weatherface, not interested in that. I never played the Armored Core games. I know they're like a mech fighting things. I just never got into that series for whatever reason. And it's by From Software, the guys who do the Soulsborne sort of things, which are insanely hard. I know they said, like, yeah, we're going to be very. It's going to be a toned back experience for Armored Core 6, but I don't know about that. Okay, so as far as something on this list that does interest me, Goodbye Volcano High interested me a lot from what I've seen about it. It's more like a narrative style thing, sort of like Life is Strange, or like anything by Telltale for that matter. Because in case you're wondering, this game was announced as part of the PS5 showcase several years ago. It was delayed very heavily from what I've read, but now it has an official release date. So I've been following this game for several years now, because I think that PS5 showcase was 3 years ago or something. I don't know when that was. But yeah, narrative adventure games do interest me depending on the topic. It is sort of a little outlandish. You play as an anthropomorphic dinosaur in high school on the preparation for what might be the apocalypse. Yeah, I don't know what to make of that just at face value, but the narrative style sort of thing where you choose your dialogue choices, you make decisions and stuff, that does interest me. I have played several of those games on the channel. So in regards to this is something I'm going to keep an eye on and maybe play on launch day. I'm not even sure. We'll have to see. Oh yeah, Sea of Stars is another thing. I heard about that. It's like a retro style Chrono Trigger RPG sort of throwback. I'll look into that as well, maybe. But yeah, that's as far as we go for the next 2 months now. Only two things on this list really call out to me for that matter. And considering Volcano High is sort of an indie project, I'm not too worried about being like hyped up or anything. It's so weird. Like the things that tend to be not hyped up but perform well and received well tend to be from the indie studios, right? It's the things that are hyped up by the big studios end up being like major disappointments. So it's kind of ironic when you think about it. But hey, there we are. So I just want to address that's why I don't really buy into new things. Because a lot of gamers I do watch that focus on a lot of like other things. Yeah, I'm gonna name. Should I even bother name them? I don't know. I have subscribed to several people who do a lot of things. Sure, I might as well go through them. As long as I don't view their content, I should be okay, right? Their videos. I mean, yeah, Final Fantasy 16 just launched. I never played Final. Okay, so my experiences with Final Fantasy franchise is sort of very non-existent. I never played any of them to any full extent. I tried to start with Final Fantasy 13, which is very sad because that's like considered the worst one out of everyone. I couldn't get into it really. And no, I play as a character with the guy with the afro was at the party. You fight that mechanical scorpion after the opening cutscene. The scorpion sort of runs off, and then I saved the save point. That's as far as I got in the game. I never went back to it. It's sort of sad because back during the seventh generation, I would have this gigantic habit of buying games, like barely playing them. It's very sad. I know it's a huge waste of money and time too, but it's something I just dealt with back in the seventh generation, right? See, obviously, yeah, Assassin's Creed 2 is pretty old as well, so it's not just me that does into old stuff as well. But yeah, Christopher Oz, another person I like to watch. Let's go through his library real quick. I'm assuming this isn't violating any copyright because I'm not actually watching their stuff, but yeah. Yeah, he's doing Aliens Dark Descent, that RTS thing that was announced. I was not interested in that. I'm already still feeling pretty betrayed by Colonial Marines for that matter. Yeah, enough said about that. I don't know what Miyasama Experimental Chamber is. I assume that's something new for that matter. But yeah, he focuses a lot of new stuff as well, which is fine. I have no problem against people focusing on new stuff, old stuff, or anything else. I just want to focus on what's more interesting to me. And the sad thing is, a lot of the things that are being like released lately are just not interesting, which is very unfortunate. I know. But yeah, I won't make this too much about other people, because yeah, so that's pretty much the gist of where I am at this point regarding new stuff. If there's something new that interests me, I will go out of my way to get ready to, free up my schedule if I do want to cover it for that matter. Pre-order it, get it ready, and have it put out there. Because I imagine when people do expect a commentary of a new title, uh, no, like as far as a viewer goes, yeah, they would want people who they want to see cover it when it's in its prime, right? I definitely understand that. So I do get that. But as far as requests go for new stuff, I haven't really gotten a lot of things for anything new or upcoming, which is also another factor. If someone did say, no, this thing is coming out in like 2 months, could you please cover it? I would like to see you do that. Yeah, I would definitely take that into consideration depending on what the game is or the genre or anything else. But I don't really get a lot of requests for that. Those sort of things. A lot of things I do get requests for tend to be old or just retro in general, so I'm just going by what people want me to play, because a lot of the requests I get are for older things. I am trying to satisfy those as best I can, by the way. It's not the easiest thing, because even though I am a very small channel, I do get a lot of requests, believe it or not. So I do what I can to try and get these things, because not all of them are very easy to find, especially if they're from the retro era that you can't find digitally anywhere. You have to find like physical copies from a reseller, so it's not the easiest thing to do in the world. But of course, if you guys really want me to play that particular game for whatever reason, yeah, I will try at least get a copy. Now, 'cause I do like doing requests because it's the way I just roll. People want me to cover something because they like my work. Yeah, sure, I'll go on my way to try and get the copy of the game. Not easiest thing in the world, not always the easiest thing to juggle all the things people want me to do, but I am doing my best here. I swear to God, I am. So as far as that goes, yeah, I think that's all I have to say on the matter as to why I don't really buy into new stuff. Not that any of the things like Saints Row, Redfall, or like Gotham Knights were something that really interested me. And again, no one really requested I do look into them when they came out, but here we are. So I just wanted to go over that real quick. Again, this is not made in response to anyone saying anything in particular. No one has ever asked me why you don't play new stuff. I just wanted to be out there first, be a bit more disclosure, saying, yeah, this is why I don't play things, just in case anyone is wondering, all right? So as far as my physical health goes, yeah, I'm starting to feel a little better. Still not 100%. I am starting to record a bit more. Now, the family drama is still ongoing, but that has nothing to do with my health. It is stressing me out, but I am doing what I can to stay busy and active and stuff. So that's pretty much all I have to talk about here. I do feel I go on a little too long with these videos, because again, they are unscripted, right? So I'm going to stop right here. Thanks for listening, everybody, and I'll see you something else soon. Take care.